On a quiet Tuesday night, you are at the kitchen table, paycheck to paycheck, trying to make the numbers behave. Envelopes are stacked in front of you. Rent, a minimum payment, a past due notice, and next to them, a glass jar with $20 in it. You look at the debt number, maybe $5,400, and you think, why would I save when I already owe? If you feel underpaid, stuck, and one surprise away from panic, this video is for you. In the next few minutes, you will see why saving your first $1,000, even with debt, can be the move that finally stops the cycle. And you will leave with 3 simple rules you can actually use. A lot of Americans cannot cover a surprise $400 expense with cash. When that happens, the fix is often a credit card, a loan, or a fee. And that is how a small problem turns into a bigger month. This is Wealth Mentor Pro, where every lesson is a step closer to your freedom. Today we are answering the question people replay in their heads at night. If you already have debt, is saving your first $1,000 smart, or is it a mistake? The answer is not just math. It is the trap that keeps pulling you back and the system that finally gets you out. I've been the person refreshing my bank app hoping the numbers change. If this helps even a little, you can leave a like and we'll keep going. Most money advice starts with a calculator. Pay debt first, highest interest first. On paper, that looks clean. But real life does not happen on paper. Real life shows up as a flat tire on Thursday, a kid's fever on Friday, and an overdraft fee on Saturday morning while you are half awake. Think of your money plan like driving without guardrails. Without a guardrail, one wrong turn sends you off the road. In money terms, the wrong turn is a $280 car repair, a $90 prescription, or a shift you miss because your ride fell through. If you do not have cash, you borrow, and borrowing is expensive. Here is a concrete example. Say you bring home $2,400 a month. You have $4,800 on a credit card. You are doing the responsible thing, throwing an extra $150 a month at the card. Then the car needs tires. It is $420. With no buffer, it goes right back on the card. So your progress did not move forward. It ran in place. Start today by opening a separate place for your buffer, even if it starts with $10. Name it something plain, like emergency only. The stakes are simple. Without cash on hand, emergencies do not just interrupt your plan, they rewrite it. And here is the part that keeps people trapped. When you do not have a buffer, you are not choosing a plan. You are reacting to life. Now the math trap, because it is real. Around 20% interest, a $1,000 balance costs about $200 a year if it just sits there. People hear that and feel a wave of guilt. Saving while debt grows sounds like throwing money away. But typical videos leave out what actually happens next. When you have no cash, the emergency does not disappear. It becomes a new balance at a bad rate, plus fees, plus stress. The cost is not only interest, the cost is the relapse, over and over. Sometimes the relapse shows up as fees you never planned for. One overdraft can be around $35. 2 in a week is $70 gone, just from timing. That is groceries, that is gas, that is a utility bill you were trying to keep current. So instead of starting with the perfect payoff plan, we start with something more basic. We start with control. Think of your plan like a map. A map does not make the trip easy, but it stops you from driving in circles. Many people do not need more motivation. They need fewer wrong turns. Here is a simple map for tight months. First, list your essentials and minimums. Not your ideal life, your real life. Rent, utilities, groceries, transportation to work, childcare, and minimum debt payments. Then choose one small number you can move consistently, even if it is $25 per paycheck. Set one automatic transfer that happens within 24 hours of payday. If it is $10, it is $10. If it is $30, it is $30. The goal is not speed. The goal is that it happens without a debate in your head every time. Because if you only save when you have extra, you will almost never have extra. Something will claim it first. A subscription you forgot, a price jump at the grocery store. That one small leak that does not feel dramatic until it is the reason you are short. And this leads to the next question you need answered before the money starts slipping again. If you build a buffer, what counts as an emergency and what does not? This is where people get discouraged. They imagine saving $1,000 as one giant climb. It is not. It is a set of stairs. Think of it as $100, then $250, then $500, then $1,000. Each step changes what you can survive. At $100, you can handle a small copay without borrowing. At $250, you can handle a basic car fix. At $500, you can handle a bigger hit without panic. And at $1,000, most normal surprises stop becoming a debt event. For example, if you can save $80 a month, you are not failing, you are building. In 4 months, that is $320. In 10 months, that is $800. In about a year, you are near $1,000. Not flashy, but strong. Write one sentence that defines emergencies in your life: unexpected, necessary, and time-sensitive. A concert ticket is not time-sensitive. A blown tire is. A birthday gift can be planned. A toothache usually cannot. This matters because if your emergency fund becomes a second checking account, you never reach the level where debt payoff finally sticks. And when debt payoff does not stick, it starts to feel personal, like you are the problem. You are not. The system is the problem. Here's what almost no one tells you. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to stop restarting. Quick question, and you can answer in one line in the comments. What is the emergency that knocks you off track the most? Car repairs, medical costs, or random life stuff like fees and missed shifts? Now we move from stress to a clear system. Exactly 3 rules. No fancy apps, no shame, and no pretending everyone has hundreds left over each month. This is education, not personal financial advice. So take what fits your life. Rule 1. Minimums stay on, and extra payments pause until you have $1,000. The benefit is calm control. You stop the panic borrowing cycle while staying current on what you must pay. Here is what it looks like. If you have been paying an extra $150 a month toward debt, you temporarily redirect that $150 into your buffer. In 6 months, that is $900. Add one small windfall like a $100 tax refund, a gift, or selling something you do not use, and you are at the $1,000 wall. This rule feels wrong because it is not aggressive, but it is strategic. It protects your future self from expensive emergencies. It also prevents that painful pattern where you pay down debt for months, then put the exact same amount right back on the card in one bad week. And yes, there is a trade-off. Interest continues while you build the wall, but the wall reduces the chance you will create new debt with even worse terms, like payday loans that can come with extremely high APRs. You are choosing a controlled cost over an uncontrolled disaster. Rule 2. Build the buffer in steps and do not skip a step. The benefit is momentum you can feel. When money is tight, confidence is fuel. Start with $100. If you save $25 a week, that is 4 weeks. Then build to $250, then $500, then $1,000. Each step is a real upgrade in your life because it changes what you can handle without borrowing. To make this work, keep the buffer separate. If it sits next to your spending money, it will quietly get used for almost emergencies, like a sale, a weekend out, or that one extra grocery trip where everything somehow costs $40 more than you expected. I have been there. A buffer needs walls. Also decide how it refills. If you use $180 for a tire, your next goal is not perfection. Your next goal is to refill the $180. That is how you avoid the shame spiral. You treat it like maintenance, not failure. Rule 3. Once you hit $1,000, you protect the wall, then you attack high-cost debt. The benefit is that your debt payoff finally stays paid off, and you create room for investing later in a slow, boring, diversified way, without pressure and without promises. Here is a simple version. You hit $1,000. Now you go back to paying extra on the highest interest debt first, because that is usually the most expensive, but the buffer stays. If an emergency hits, you use the buffer, then refill it, then continue. You do not go back to borrowing as your first response. This is where wealth building starts to become visible. Net worth is what you own minus what you owe. That $1,000 buffer is something you own. It is a small asset that buys you options. High-interest debt is what you owe, and it quietly drains your future. When you hold a buffer and reduce expensive debt, this is how you stop losing money and start building assets. And later, when life is steadier, investing becomes a concept you can approach calmly. Not as a rescue plan, as a long-horizon approach that is diversified and low-cost in spirit with no guarantees. But you do not get there by skipping stability. You get there by building it. Now, the payoff that answers the question from the beginning. Why save when you have debt? Because emergencies do not care about your payoff plan. Put numbers on it. If you pause an extra $100 a month for 10 months to build your buffer, you might pay extra interest along the way. But if you do not have the buffer, one $400 shock can turn into $400 on a card, plus interest, plus maybe a late fee, plus maybe an overdraft, plus the stress that makes next month harder. A controlled detour is often cheaper than getting lost. That jar on the table is not a symbol of being behind. It is proof you are building a floor under your life. And when you have a floor, you move differently. You stop flinching when your phone buzzes. You stop bracing for every email. Wealth building is slow, uneven, and personal. No overnight transformations. But this is how it starts for a lot of normal people. Not with a big break. With a buffer that stops the bleeding so progress can finally stick. If you take one thing from this, let it be this. A $1,000 buffer is not the finish line. It is the moment the cycle breaks. This is Wealth Mentor Pro. If you appreciate calm money help like this, consider subscribing so you do not have to search for it when you are stressed. And when this ends, tap the next video on your screen and keep the momentum while it is still fresh.